Hello and welcome to another TLDR Brexit Explained video. Yesterday was supposed to be the latest in a string of Brexit deadlines, with the UK and EU promising that a deal would definitely be reached by Sunday, or they'd stop negotiations altogether. Sunday came and both sides agreed that they just needed a little bit longer. This raises two questions. One we've covered numerous times before. Do the UK and EU even have enough time to reach a deal before the UK officially leaves at the end of the year? The second and slightly more snarky question is whatever happened to Johnson's Oven Ready Deal? In 2019, no one could get the Prime Minister to sit down for an interview, dodging Andrew Neil's calls and hiding from Good Morning Britain in a freezer. But if they had got him to sit down with them, he would have likely spoken endlessly about his oven-ready Brexit deal.
Let's get this thing done. We've got an oven-ready deal, put it in the microwave. To do it, we have a deal that is ready to go. It is oven-ready. Gas Mark IV, I'm not a great cook, but you know what I mean. This is the perfect metaphor for what we're going to do. And this deal is ready to go. You just whack it in the microwave. I don't know what, I'm not very good at cooking, but you know.
So the question many people are asking is what happened? Johnson said in 2019 that the odds of no deal were 1 in a million and proclaimed that his deal was ready to go. All he needed was to win re-election. Well, what happened? So in this video, we'll try and tell you where Johnson's microwave meal went and what the latest delay actually means. Regular viewers will be all too familiar with the fact that we've made a colouring book all about Brexit, which runs you through the timeline, featuring 21 beautiful images to colour. It's a slightly silly book, but it does genuinely contain a good amount of detail, so it could be a great novelty gift for people who are hard to buy for. You can grab one copy, or you could get two for a discounted price and just keep one for yourself. Also be warned that there's really not long left for Christmas delivery in these countries, so don't delay, the link to the store is down below. Before we get into the oven readiness of Brexit, let's first examine what actually happened yesterday, as understanding why Brexit's deadline has been delayed once again is crucial to understanding this whole situation. You'll remember that on Wednesday, Johnson and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen both met for dinner to discuss the situation. They weren't able to reach an agreement, but they did agree that negotiators should keep going and move the deadline to Sunday. Yesterday, when the deadline came, a joint statement was released, informing everyone that the deadline had been shifted once again, saying that it will be responsible at this point to go the extra mile, telling negotiators to see whether an agreement can, even at this late stage, be reached.
And despite the fact that deadlines have been missed over and over, we both think that it is responsible at this point in time to go the extra mile.
It seems that neither side is willing to give up. Maybe because they don't want the blame for killing talks, or maybe because they genuinely see a deal on the horizon. It seems as though it won't be easy though, with the pair supposedly discussing major unresolved topics in Sunday's call, with there seemingly being some serious ground to make up between the two negotiating positions. One of those problems seems to be the UK's objections to the EU's level playing field provisions and the so-called ratchet clauses. Johnson's majorly unhappy with both, even saying that no UK Prime Minister could sign them off, something we discussed in our last video. Following the official statement and von der Leyen's press conference, Johnson seemingly reaffirmed the UK's insistence for reaching a deal, remarking that where there's life, there's hope, and that they certainly won't be walking away from the talks. Despite this continued effort, Johnson did seem sceptical, saying, as far as I can see, there are some serious and very difficult issues that currently separate the UK from the EU, and the best thing to do now for everybody is to get ready for trade on WTO terms, essentially admitting that despite best efforts, a deal might not be possible. The question is, how is that even possible? Johnson made clear in 2019 that a deal was only one election win away. Vote for the Conservatives and they get Brexit done with their oven-ready deal. Actually, maybe that's the very issue. Johnson might not have been quite clear enough. When faced with criticisms over negotiations, Johnson insisted that people had got the wrong end of the stick, maintaining that his party did indeed get Brexit done and that the oven-ready deal was delivered. I'll let him explain it for himself.
If I may say with great respect, you're muddling up two things.
I don't think I am. You were asking about a trade deal then, and you chose to respond by saying, we've got an oven-ready deal. You haven't got a deal.
No, it was very clear that we came out of the European Union, as I said we would, on January the 31st. And what we've been talking about in the last few months is the terms on which we trade with our European...
Where is it?
The Oven Ready Deal was the deal by which we came out of the European Union on January the 31st.
But you weren't specific that day. With respect, you weren't specific that day.
I'm sorry, that was exactly what we did.
Now, there's actually some real validity in this claim, so let me run through it in slightly more detail. There are actually two separate arguments at play here: the withdrawal agreement and the future trade deal. The withdrawal agreement was an agreement between the UK and EU which set out how Brexit would happen, and was signed off at the beginning of the year, allowing for the UK to leave the EU and enter the transition period. Now, as you likely know, the transition period has been running ever since then, from the beginning of February to the end of 2020. It was in this time that the two sides would start negotiating on a future trade deal, a proper deal that would set out how the two sides would work together, trade, and how the future relationship would work. That's the full trade deal. These two are fundamentally different things. The first has been agreed and put in place already, and the second, well, you can see what's been happening there, and there's no future trade deal at the moment. According to Johnson, he didn't lie at any point. He says that the deal was ready, and the deal he was referring to was the withdrawal agreement, and because it passed and the UK left the EU on January 31st, he delivered on both promises. The thing is that the Conservatives were either deliberately deceptive or their message just wasn't as clear as they'd hoped. I mean, not as deceptive as rebranding their Twitter account to make it look like an independent fact-checker, but still not the clearest it could have been. That's because a lot of people believed the oven-ready deal and get Brexit done meant that a Brexit deal would be passed very quickly. We get the deal the UK needs, and we could stop talking about Brexit. Now, while that might not be explicitly what they said, it's definitely what people heard. And come on, they called the withdrawal agreement the deal, which does feel intentionally deceptive. Labour definitely think this, with their leader Keir Starmer saying the Conservatives muddled the two deals in the minds of the public before the election, wrongly giving the impression that the free trade deal was in the bag. They even provided Channel 4 News with 3 examples of this deception. The first is where Johnson said in a speech at a Nissan car factory,
The thing about the deal we've got ready to go is, as I say, that it does protect the supply chains, it keeps them intact, it makes sure that we have complete equivalence when it comes to our standards, our industrial requirements and all the rest of it.
Labour argue that these benefits only come from a free trade deal, which hasn't been delivered. Secondly, Johnson said that there'd be a permanent break from talking about Brexit, with Labour arguing that this also isn't possible without resolving the final relationship with the EU. The third example is from a BBC interview with Rishi Sunak, with Starmer telling the Commons exactly what Sunak said.
The Chancellor said in the run-up to the election, we won't need to plan for no deal because we have a deal.
So, according to Labour, these 3 things are evidence of the Conservatives being misleading. They promised to protect supply chains, which needs a deal. They promised to end Brexit discussion, which can only happen with a deal, and they even alleged that Sunak said, we have a deal. However, as Channel 4's fact-check team found, these claims don't quite hold water. It's possible that when he was talking at Nissan, the PM meant that supply chains would be protected by the transition period brought on by the withdrawal agreement. However, admittedly the Prime Minister didn't make it clear or emphasise that these protections only lasted for 11 months. The Sunak quote also looks a bit off, with the official quote provided by the BBC actually saying, we won't need to plan for no deal, because we will have a deal to leave with. So, not quite the same promise. Maybe overly optimistic, but he seemingly didn't say that the deal already existed. There were also numerous other times in the 2019 election campaign where senior Tories acknowledged that a deal still had to be done, seemingly acknowledging that the oven-ready deal was more of a microwave-ready starter than the full meal. So it does seem that the Conservatives are absolutely right. Despite the pithy and sassy tweets coming from their critics, they didn't actually say that the deal was oven ready, just that their deal was oven ready. Easy, right? Why haven't we just stopped talking about it like Johnson wanted? Regardless, I'm interested to hear what you think. Even if there's no smoking gun of the Prime Minister or Tories explicitly promising that they had a final free trade deal, do you think that nuance made it through to the electorate? Or did they hide behind a smokescreen of misleading three-word slogans? Also, what do you think about this further delay? Should the UK be attempting to reach a deal still, or should the Prime Minister concede defeat? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release new videos. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then you too can back us on Patreon. The link to that's in the description.